Welcome back to Stamping at the Warren. My name's Kim Tolton and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in Essex in the UK. And today is another in my 7-day series of cards, demonstrations, tutorials for complete beginners or people that have maybe tried stamping once or twice and not really got the hang of it. And I just want to show you how simple it is to make some beautiful cards. These have been taken straight out of the Stampin' Up 2015-16 catalogue. So they're the creative ideas that are in there, so it'll make it a bit more familiar when you start looking through and you'll go, oh yeah, Kim did that one and Kim did that one, but you'll also see other ideas. And I'm trying to keep it quite simple this week without using too much in the way of supplies, so that you can get yourself started. If you ever want advice or have any questions, please feel free to contact me at kim.tolton@googlemail.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But most of all, this week is all about having a bit of fun and having a go. So the card I'm going to do today is a new baby card, and it's this one here. Lovely sentiment of may the blessings of this day be with your child forever. So I suppose you could use it also for baptisms and communions as well, but I'm using it with the intention of it being a new baby card. And this is a stamp set in total here. All God's Grace it's called, which I think is beautiful, and you've got some little supplementary stamps in here as well. Okay, so to get you started, the first thing that you need to do is actually make a card base. And a card base is the framework with which you build your card onto. So I tend to make my card base, or a card blank some places will call it. I make that in advance, pop it to one side, and then I make the card front, and then you put that topper onto your card. And it means that you're less likely to get this dirty and messed up. It also means that if you don't get it right first time, you haven't wasted a card blank. So I make mine from the new Stampin' Up thicker Whisper White cardstock. It's a bit more robust, it will stand up easier, and it looks a bit better on display. There's nothing worse than watching a bit of cardstock curling over. So to make one of these, you can use your stamping trimmer, because it comes with a cutting blade as well as a scoring blade. Just make sure you put the cutting blade out of the way once you finish cutting. So to start off with, you want to cut a piece of the thicker Whisper White cardstock to 21 centimetres by 14.8 centimetres. Put that blade up the opposite end, and then use your scoring blade, which is the lighter brown blade towards nearest you, it should be if you've got it round that way. And you want to score this long line, this long side, at 10.5 centimetres, and that will create you your basic A6 card base. Now when you've scored it, you will see that one side, like here, has a ridge and the other side has a hollow. When you fold your card, you always want to make sure that you're folding towards that ridge, so that the fold here is actually where that hollow score line would have been, and that will reduce the risk of getting the card fracturing along this side, which can be a little bit unsightly. So we'll pop that to one side, and you then trim a piece of very vanilla cardstock to 14.3 centimetres by 10 centimetres, and when that goes on top of your card base, you'll see that there's a little bit of an edge. It's a bit mucky that side, so we'll turn it over. As you can see, there's a little bit of a frame around the outside. And the very next job to do is the embossing. So this will be possibly a new technique for you, and this is going to create this hexagonal raised image here. So this is the embossed side that you're looking at, and we do that using a big shot and an embossing folder. So this is called dry embossing, and this is the honeycomb embossing folder, and you will feel one side is fairly flat, the other side you can feel the ridges. If you put the side that you want upwards, always make sure that that Stampin' Up image is here along with the Sizzix, because if you have it the other way you're going to get the debossed side rather than the other side. So make sure that you pop this in nice and evenly, and then just bear with me whilst I get my Big Shot onto the table. And a Big Shot is a die cutting and embossing machine, manual one, and it works with a roller handle, and you will need the Big Shots from Stampin' Up come with a multi-purpose platform, which is here, and it has different tabs which depends on what you're using, and for embossing we're going to be using tab 1. So pop that onto your machine. These are cutting blades. I use my old cutting blades that I've used for die cutting, so actually cutting out shapes. So my very damaged ones I use for embossing, and rotate them regularly and they'll stay relatively flat. And you sandwich your embossing folder between two cutting plates like that. Squeezing it shut, you pop it in to your Big Shot. Push until you feel the handle start to move. Put purchase on the top handle and rotate the way that your the handle was swinging. And it's as simple as that. So we'll take this away and I'll put my Big Shot back on the floor. And when you open your folder, ta-da! There you have it. You've got this lovely embossed ridge. And if you look this side, so this is the debossed side, the flat side. This is the embossed side, which is the raised side. And we're going to stick this onto the front here. And I'm going to use Fast Fuse, which I love. And once you get the knack of it, it's fantastic. And you have your base here flat, parallel to the piece of cardstock, and you draw it down, keeping good contact. When you get to the end, you give it a flick. You do the same the other end, and you flick the opposite way. And because I'm putting this down on a card base, card front, I'm actually going to put a little bit on the other two edges, remembering to flick in the opposite ways. And make sure you have got the right side, so you should have a little frame around the edge again. And just stick that down like that. And then we're going to put a piece of decorative paper up here. But before we do that, again with the Fast Fuse, 2 strips down either edge. One, again remembering to go one side and t'other. You see I've got a bit of glue on my sheet here, so I just rub it off and it comes away and it won't damage anything then. So before we stick this on, this is antique lace, again from Stampin' Up. Venetian crochet trim. The old one was antique lace. So this is the Venetian crochet trim, and we're just going to pop. Oh, I've got a piece of my hair on there. That's not good, is it? That won't be pretty. Let's see if I can get it off. There we go. And just run that along one edge, quite close to the edge, and just snip it off with a pair of scissors, making sure you don't cut the piece of card. And then this lovely lacy bit is going to overlap that unsightly seam where the two pieces of card meet. and just stick that on. And if any adhesive is left over, as I say, just rub it off and it'll come away. Got some there. Off it comes. Okay. And that was 3 centimetres by 9.5 centimetres. And now we do a little bit of stamping. Just 2 bits, so not very much for this one. And I'm using soft suede classic ink pad. Make it look pretty. So on a scrap piece of Whisper White. Now it's a very gentle tap tap. If you're just starting stamping, have your rubber facing upwards and just do gentle tap tap taps until you see that all of that image has been inked, and you can easily see if any ink has got around the edges. If it has, that's going to mark your card, so just clean it off with a little baby wiper or a piece of kitchen towel. Stamp with conviction, so hold the block. This is an acrylic block with a stamp mounted on it, and you just stamp. It's a gentle press. You don't need to be grinding it into the ground as I see some people doing. And that's that bit done. And then I don't know why I shut the stamp set, the ink pad rather. So here, I'm really sorry, did you just hear that? That's one of my goats. I've got pygmy goats, and one of our females is in season at the moment, so she's being a little bit vocal. So I do apologise, because they can get really quite loud. It's just as well we have a very large garden. Well, it's a small holding actually, so we have a very large garden, and they don't upset anybody too much. And this is going to be your sentiment, and I'm going to stamp it towards the left hand side, centre it on, down again, gentle press and up. All right, none of this business. You don't need to. It will distort your image. Okay. And that's the stamping. So not much stamping today. I'm normally a stamping addict, but I'm going simple, as I say. This is going to be mounted over the top here. So again, with my trusty fast fuse, just one strip straight down the middle. And flick at the end. And just mount that over the top of this piece, roughly in the middle of that piece of decorative paper. Okay, and this is another technique that takes a little bit of getting used to, because normally when we cut, we cut and we're moving our scissors round and round like this, so we tend to go, oh. And that isn't the best way of doing it. So you are actually going to rotate the card, not your scissors. So it does take some getting used to, but it's worth it. And when you're cutting round things, you do want to leave just about 1 millimeter's edge. You see me turning. I know it's a bit boring to watch, but it is a valuable lesson. So you just rotate, go up, and these are paper snips I'm using here, again from Stampin' Up, and they're absolutely superb because they have a really sharp point, so you can cut things into really tight corners. They're really, really sharp. And I have to say, my customers that come to my scrapbooking and cardcraft classes absolutely adore them, and almost all of them have purchased a pair, because they're just fab. And most people start off going, no, I can't cut things out, but practice makes perfect, and I get them there. Everybody does it in the end. Takes some people a little bit longer than others, but that's fine. We all learn at different rates, don't we? So almost done. Rotating that card all the time. Okay, and I'm trying my best not to put blood on the piece of cardstock because I decided I was going to slice my finger with a scalpel last night whilst I was working, which was rather stupid. And there you go, you have your little cross. So it's mounting that now, and to mount that we're going to use Stampin' Dimensionals, which are these fabulous little foam 3-dimensional sticky pads, sticky fixers people often buy, but these are slightly thicker, and because they're hexagonal they get into even really tight spaces, and you can cut them down if you need something a little bit smaller. Just take the adhesive covering off the backs, and then mount that little cross on here, and you can probably see already that there's a shadow, and that really pops that image up. And now it's all about decoration. We're going to use this little punch here, which comes from the Itty Bitty Banner Punch Pack, I think it's called, and it's the only little punch pack that's in the catalogue anyway. So we're going to punch 3, and I'm using crushed curry cardstock here, whereas this decorative paper is from the Brights collection. I wanted something that was just a few shades darker, and Stampin' Up works incredibly hard to make sure all of their colour collections work not just together with one another, but also across the colour collections as well. And I find that so easy, because if I'm having a day where I'm just struggling with a bit of inspiration, I can just pick out one colour collection and work with it without having to put too much thought into the whole process. And they do accessories that all coordinate as well, which makes it absolutely fab. So all I'm doing here is using glue dots just to pop the little flowers onto the card base, and then we're going to add some pearls. I think pearls rather than sparklies for this occasion, because I always think of white and ivory for babies and children, so I think we'll go for the middle-sized pearls. These are a chain, so you can use it as a whole chain, or you can snip them into sections. So when I tend to do 3, I'll just cut 3 together, and it makes it a little bit easier to add them on. I'm just going to put a little pearl in the middle of each of these, and turn it over. You want just a few Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. Again, take the covering off. There's my finger, look, can you see? Stupid thing, I know. You think after nearly over 30 years of making cards, I'd have got it by now, but there you go. And we're just going to pop that down onto the card base, and there you have it. The full tutorial will be on my blog, which is www.stampingatthewarren.co.uk, and there's a link on there so that you can go straight to the supplies online as well. And as I say, if you have any questions, just contact me either through the messaging system on Google+, or just sending me an email at kim.tolton@googlemail.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope I see you again very soon. Bye bye.